Okay guys, we're gonna start the tamale pie with a large skillet. You don't need something this large unless of course you're gonna double the recipe. I'm doing it in the skillet so you can see clearly what I'm doing. I have 1 pound, might be a little over a pound, but it's about a pound of ground beef. Use whatever you like. If you want lean, 80-20, whatever you want to use. Mine is 80-20, and I'm gonna put just a little bit of oil just so that it doesn't stick to the pan. If it has too much fat, of course, I will drain it. And then just break it up. And we are going to season the meat right now. I am going to put in the salt, some of the seasonings. Okay, to this, we're going to add about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Okay, you adjust the seasoning to how you like it or your family likes it. Okay, I'm just suggesting what when I'm telling you what I use on mine. So you have at least a gauge of what I'm doing. Okay, so we're going to let this cook down and get brown. If it releases too much grease, I will drain it. So I will be back in a few minutes to show y'all what this looks like. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes and this has been browning and everything's looking good. So now we are going to start adding our vegetables. Okay, the first thing that I like to do is add my onion. I will have everything linked below. The recipe, I will have it linked below. Okay, that was 1/2 of an onion, white onion. You can use yellow onion. You can even use purple onion. It doesn't even matter in this recipe. We're going to add our bell peppers. This is red bell pepper. You can use just one color. You don't have to use both. I just do it for the colors. I think it looks real pretty once everything is cooked down. And of course, we eat with our eyes first. Okay, so we're going to let these get translucent and I'll be back in a few minutes. It's been about 3 minutes of the vegetables sauteing. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the stuff now, which is the garlic. I use 2 large garlics in this recipe. If you don't like so much garlic, you don't have to put it in. This is a real easy recipe that you can change, add whatever vegetables you like. That is going to be totally up to you and what your family likes. Okay, now, I put 2 Serrano peppers in here. If you have little ones that they can't have the spice, don't put it in. That is just a personal preference on my part. So that's what I put in. Okay, we're going to let this saute down a little bit more. And then we're going to add in our chili powder and our comino, ground comino. And we're going to let this go for a few more minutes. Okay, this has been sauteing here for about 10 minutes. Now I am going to add the spices, the rest of the spices, to bloom the spices. We are going to add our comino. That's about 1 teaspoon of comino, and then my chili powder. Okay? Now if this is too much for you, of course you'll see after the recipe, you can take some out. You don't have to add the same amounts. I'm going to have to say the kitchen smells so good right now. This has so many flavors in here. Just delicious. Okay. So now I bloomed the spices, so it woke up the spices now. To this I add corn. Now you don't have to add the corn like I said. You can add beans, black beans, you can add pinto beans. I do it because this is just what I've always done and I enjoy the recipe. So that's why I'm sharing it with y'all like this. Okay, so now that doesn't take long. It just takes about a minute and we're going to add the tomato. I'm going to show you the kind of tomato that I use. I like to use the red gold petite diced. It has green chilies, lime, and cilantro. If you don't like these flavors, just add plain tomato. No biggie. And just incorporate it because, of course, the tomato is going to stew down when we have it in the oven. I am going to add just a little bit of some broth. You can use chicken broth. You can use beef broth. I use bone broth. And you don't put too much, just a little bit, because you don't want it real runny. Because we're still going to bake it with the cornbread in the oven. I just want it to loosen up a little bit so that the tomatoes can get real nice and stewy, if that's a word. A little bit more. I'm going to let this cook down. I'm going to cover it, let it cook down for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to transfer you to the counter, and we're going to move on to the next step. Okay? As you can see, I add a little bit at a time. You can always add, but you can't take out. So I take it slow. Even though I've made this recipe many times, I just pick up that habit and I've never changed it. So add a little bit at a time. You don't want it too runny. That seems like that's going to be enough. I'm going to get the lid and cover it. Okay, I'm going to let this simmer and we'll be back. Okay, this is ready. I'm going to shut it off before I add the cheese because I don't want it to melt completely. So I'm going to let this sit here for a while we prepare the cornbread that goes on top. So I'm going to switch all over to the counter and let this here to set. Okay, now we're going to fix the topping. This is the pie plate that I'm going to use. It's just a Pyrex 9.5 inch. It doesn't have to be round. You can use a little square one if you don't have a pie plate. It doesn't matter. Use what you have. Okay, now for this I use 1 packet of cornbread mix. I use the yellow one. That's another thing. You can use whichever one you like. That's totally up to you. I'm just going to prepare it according to the package instructions. So this one calls for egg and milk. And then you just whisk it up. And what I like to do to the cornbread, once I have it mixed, I like to add a little bit of cheese. This is the cheese that I'm going to add into our mixture. I just grab a little handful and I add it in here. And then I just whisk it in there. It's all about the flavors. Okay, now we're going to pour in our meat mixture into the pie plate. And just be careful because this is still hot. We're going to add it in. And then we're just going to level it out. And I'm going to sprinkle the cheese on top of that. And if you don't like cheddar cheese, use Monterey Jack. You can use, just whatever cheese you like. That's what I love about this recipe. You can just change so many things about it. I would just recommend making it like this the first time and then changing it up on the next one to see what you like and don't like. Okay, that's going to be it. Just 1 layer of cheese just like that. And now we're going to scoop in our cornbread. Okay, and then you just pour over the cornbread. You know, there's some cornbreads that are a little bit thicker than this one. And that's okay. You use whichever one you like. Whatever one is your favorite. And as you can see, this is just the perfect amount for one of the little envelopes. I place the pie on top of a cookie sheet just so that if there's any spillover, it catches on your cookie tray and don't make a mess out of your oven. Okay, I'm going to pop this into the oven at 375 and I'll be back to show y'all what it looks like. Okay guys, this was in the oven for exactly 30 minutes. It's ready. The top part gets brown a little bit because of the cheese. So that's why you don't want to put too much cheese. You don't want it to get too dark before it's actually cooked. The bread is cooked all the way through, the cornbread. Everything else in the pie is already cooked, so you don't have to worry about that. It's just the cornbread. But I like to let it sit here for at least an hour. Let it, cool down a little bit because it's piping hot right now. So I am going to leave it like this and let it sit for about an hour. And I'll be back and show y'all what it looks like on the inside. Okay guys, I've been letting this cool and I'm going to cut into it. I just cleaned up around the pie plate so I could just serve it at the table just like that. And it doesn't look messy because it gets a little messy while it's in the oven. I just, you can cut into it with however you want. You want to slice it with the pie slicer, you can. It smells delicious. I'm going to give you a close-up so you can see what it looks like. Look at that. And this is good served with a salad or just like this, you can serve whatever you like with it. It makes great leftovers. It smells delicious, guys. So I hope you give this recipe a try. It's delicious. Okay, guys, if you try the recipe and you like it, come back and let us know how it worked out and give us a big thumbs up. And I will have the recipe linked below. I will have any items that I used. I'll try to find them for you and link them in the description box below. And I will have the recipe also on my Facebook page at Virtual Kitchen with Laura. And also, guys, I'm going to share with y'all my P.O. box if anybody wants to correspond by snail mail. So I'm going to have all that listed below. Just take a look there. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the video. Please share on your social media. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.